What's up, everybody? I am Baron Baptiste. This is the show for disrupting the drift, disrupting the conspiracy for mediocrity in the world, in humanity, and waking up. This is a place where we can tell the truth and the truth can be told. So we ask you to subscribe and share the show if you get something from the show, some kind of bigger thinking, it alters your way of being in life or doing things and support you in up leveling your life. We ask you to share the show. We're not advertising the show. It's purely organic growth, and it grows through you paying it forward and sharing it and getting the word out. And the word is getting out. So I thank you as well. I thank you. I appreciate you for sharing it and getting the word out, because the word is going out and the show is growing in such a really fantastic way. I'm totally surprised, actually, and delighted. I mean, I never came in with any big expectation, but it's always wonderful to see something very naturally, organically grow, and just purely by demand. At this point, there's no ads. We're not doing marketing and ads for this. It's purely your word of mouth. So appreciate you. David, I'm here with my friend David. How are you doing, David Masters?
Always better when I'm with you.
Yeah, it's good. It's like that, right?
Yeah.
It is good. It's an environment that pulls something forward, pulls something I know out of myself. It draws forth a bigger, not just a bigger expression, but a bigger self.
A deeper self, I would say.
Yeah, more depth. Yeah,
into
more
the wellspring.
substance.
Yeah.
At the ground of my being, I'm like something gets tapped into that is greater than me, that allows me to grow and expand and connect to what's most important and to my creator through these kind of conversations and through this environment. So yeah, absolutely. As it says in the Bible, do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind from within. And I know the conversation we're going to have today is going to have that exact kind of impact. I know it will on me. Yeah. And hopefully for a lot of people listening, that the be transformed by the renewing of your mind from within. Real quick, send your questions. If you have questions, send them to disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com, disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com. You can also put your questions into the comments on the YouTube channel, Baron Baptiste YouTube. We're posting 1 to 2 shows a week on the YouTube channel if you want the visual version there. So, David, I have a question here. So yes. Here's the question. I've done a lot of work cleaning up relationships and friendships that were bringing me down and keeping me down and depressed. How do I rebuild friendships and new relationships that are a positive in my life? It's a very good question.
I love that question.
It's an important one. Yeah. Yeah. Well, what do you see?
Okay. So nobody's going to like this answer, or maybe some people will, but I don't think it's up to you or on you to try to rebuild relationships with people. Because if you're getting yourself freed up from those relationships that were pulling you down, why do you think that those tigers are going to change their stripes? So if you had a relationship with somebody that wasn't compatible, that wasn't on the same page, that wasn't into the same things you are, that wasn't on the same journey that you're on, don't do it. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. Keep going down that path. And what'll happen is the friends that are there waiting for you, you'll arrive at them in ways that you never dreamed. And I used to say it's better to have no friends than to have the wrong kind of friends. And I don't have many friends, I got to tell you. Baron is one of my best friends. I have maybe 3 or 4 people that I really call my best friends, who I love them, and I know that they love and care about me as a person. And to me, I feel like I'm rich with friends because I've gone through my life, and you meet people that appear to be people that you can be compatible with and enjoy life with, and you find out that there are all kinds of their identity crises going on. They're lying to you, they're lying to themselves. You know, they have all these issues, and what they don't even realize they're doing is they're bringing them over to you, and they're trying to transfer them in some way, shape, or form to you, because misery simply loves company. So I go back to the hot potato principle. If somebody has a hot potato or a hot coal and they want to give it to you and you don't take it, who has it?
Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, no, it's very good. I think I like that. It's the idea that if you're looking, you're probably not going to find it. Like who the people are. It's a little bit like it'll be a reaction probably. So if you've cleaned up, right? You've kind of reshuffled your life. Perhaps some people you've just had to reshuffle them, like kind of move them to the outer periphery of your life. Maybe you haven't had to get rid of them, but you've moved them. I know that's been the case for me often. And then sometimes you got to let go of people. You just got to like cut it off and that's it. But there's the risk of trying to pursue replacements and maybe even what you could call upgrades. It'd likely be a reaction. So like if let's say you got rid of someone or you had people around you that they were just judgmental. You knew underneath the surface that maybe they were all smiles or however it went, but underneath the surface, they were judging you. Maybe it was something like that where you knew that they were talking about other people, gossiping to you about other people. And so intuitively, maybe not everyone gets this consciously, but I'd say this is something you want to get consciously. What I'm about to say is if somebody's talking about other people to you, like gossiping about other people to you, or talking behind others, people's or someone's back to you, you just need to know they're going to be doing that to you, right? They're going to be talking about you or gossiping about you. That's just what they do. It's how they roll. And you intuitively know that. So you sense that, or maybe you consciously knew it. Let's say you get rid of someone or you remove those kind of people or you reshuffle things, you push them out to a further like periphery in your life. But then now you're going to look for friends that just completely accept you as you are. Well, okay, the other people, I didn't feel like I belong. So now I'm just going to go and now I'm just going to find friends that where I belong or that are just going to accept me exactly as I am. So you go and you get these new replacements, but then what you start to see is, okay, the people that accept you exactly as you are, they actually want you to be exactly as you are. And if you are actually begin and continue to grow in yourself and your spiritual life is growing, well, those people they want you as you are. They don't want you as you could be or who you should be.
Yeah.
And so there you are again. You're in an energetic trap with those kind of people. So I say be open to the right people in your life. Be open to it, but I wouldn't be looking for it even. You can go out socially and then, yeah, okay. So go out. I like to go out socially once in a while. I'm not a big social person, but if I'm going to go somewhere, you're not going to find me at a bar, or you're not going to find me with people that are just drinking and just small, shallow talk. So, well, if I want to go out and just be around people, I'm going to go where there's maybe some more positive kind of conversations or mindsets that are of interest to me. Maybe there are people that are talking about, what it is to be an entrepreneur and what it is to find your interests in life and pursue those. And maybe it's people that are into healthy things, you go and I don't know. I don't do these things. So I don't really know exactly what I'm talking about. I like going around and being around people that are interested, though, like being entrepreneurs or people that are up to something bigger, maybe in their work life. But I was going to say, like, maybe if you're someone like you want to learn more about being healthy, well, go be around healthy people. I was at a dinner a few months back, and these people were all very fit and very health conscious people. And, when it was dessert time, they were bringing out dessert. And then I was noticing the people were saying, oh, no. People at the table are saying, no, I'm okay with the dessert. They were passing on the dessert. And then I passed on the dessert. And then the people at the table were like, no, go ahead. You looked like you wanted that. And I go, I kind of did want it. But you know what? You all are such a good influence on me right here that I actually am going to pass on the dessert. Mm-hmm. And to me, that's an example of like environments. If you're going to be around people, you actually want people that aren't, stuffing cake in your face or alcohol in your face or gossip in your face.
Yeah.
You actually want people that are going to help kind of support you in those little moments of decision where, left at your own to your own devices, you may opt for the cake. But around those people, it's like, because actually at home, I don't eat cake or I don't really eat dessert. I mean, once in a blue moon, but, but I kind of don't do that. So if I'm going to go out socially, I want to be around people that also are more related to or living a kind of standard that I am living or that I'm striving for.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
That's great. Yeah. Great insight.
Yeah.
So I will relate to you that, as you know, Baron, we've been friends for so long that I went through a divorce 25 years ago, not initiated by me. And what it did was it freed me up because 20 years before that, I went ahead and I said, I'm going to start my life. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I left all those people that I had grown up with for many, many years behind. So when I got freed up because of the results of what I was going through, I went back to see who was still there. But what I found was I had changed, but they hadn't. They were still exactly the same. And so I used to fit in with those people, but I didn't fit in with them anymore. And that was like the big takeaway for me is like, okay, keep, if Winston Churchill said, if you're going through hell, keep going. Well, I just kept going.
Yeah.
And then another life. So I literally left behind an entire life. Yeah. I'm talking 20 years. I just left it behind.
Yeah.
So now I got a new life.
I love that.
25 years now of this life.
New life and new wife.
New life, new wife, new trajectory, right?
Mm-hmm.
New potentials, doing things that I wouldn't have been able to do had I gone back to the old crowd, because the old crowd was a bunch of old surfers. And they were into partying and, where did I catch up with them? In a nightclub. Not my place. That's not where I like to dwell. But one of my buddies was in a band and he asked me, why don't you come play the harmonica in our band? I said, okay. But man, I could still play the harmonica, but it wasn't my jam. It was just not feeling right to me to try to reintegrate myself into that. And that's why I say, from my own experience, if you've gone beyond it, then there's a whole new life waiting for you to live, whoever you are.
Yeah, it's very good. It reminds me growing up in San Francisco as a surfer kid and started surfing when I was like 8 or 9 years old, and that became every day. And and I developed a lot of surfer buddies at the beach there, Ocean Beach, and we'd surf under the Golden Gate Bridge, and we'd go down the coast, down to Santa Cruz and Half Moon Bay, and just live that life from pretty young, like 10, 11 years old. Once I was like independent enough, I would just hang out with the kids down at the beach, surf, and did that. And then there was a certain point, I want to say I was like early 20s, 21-ish, 22 years old. I was like, hey, this environment and the people that I was around, I could see it wasn't going to change. I wasn't changing. I was like, this environment completely accepts me as I am. 100% it accepted me as I was, all those friends, and we knew each other. We were all had the same mindset, same, whatever we were doing, drinking, going out, partying. I was probably shifting out of the partying part already. I think I'd given up alcohol. I was, a little younger, like 18, 19, I gave up alcohol and stuff, but but I was still just the mindset of all those kids, all those guys and kids I grew up with. It was definitely like a comfort zone. And I felt in my bones that if I didn't get out of that environment, I was never going to, I knew there was something bigger in me to discover, in myself, in my life. A God was pulling me, calling me in a different kind of direction. And so I was like, I need a big disruption. And so I left San Francisco really just to get out of that environment that I'd grown up in, that I was so comfortable with. I had all these friends from my youth, junior high, grade school, junior high, middle school, high school. But just because you know someone well, or you have a camaraderie and you have that community of I had a lot of friends, those people aren't necessarily your friends to the bigger life. When I say bigger, I'm not talking about material things. That may apply, but I'm speaking more to a spiritual life, like a life that really you need to discover on your own. And so that environment, I knew that those people, I liked them all and we were friends in quotes, but really it wasn't, your friends become fiends. They become your enemies. Shakespeare said, you know who you are, but you know not who you could be. And so there was a lid, there was like a glass ceiling that I was inside of, and I knew I had to disrupt that. So I needed to move and get into other environments. So I moved to Southern California, ended up in LA, Los Angeles, and I discovered quickly just the environment itself was very uncomfortable. It was I was not in a comfort zone. I didn't know anyone in LA. But what it did is it put me on this deep, deep spiritual yearning path. Like I was yearning for a learning about, who I could be and about God and my spiritual life. And it was very lonely, and I was on my own. But then I'll tell you what, I started going around like almost shopping for different like spiritual environments, or, go to public talks. I'd go to like Marianne Williamson had a talk like once a week in some church. So I'd go there. I'd go to, I don't know, there's all these different new age kind of groups and yoga groups and chanting groups. And I don't know, there in Southern California, LA, like you get all of it. And I would literally go check it all out. But it was like each environment I go into, I was like, no, not this. No, not that. I was looking for something, but I trusted my instinct. I'd go to, different visiting gurus from India or from wherever would be visiting in town, or big authors. And I'd go to their talks, and it was like, I'd get good, maybe little tidbits of like some information, knowledge or something. But I was like, no, it's not it. And it was like this process of, no, not this, not that, not him, not her. And it was like, I was looking for something, but then I realized most of those environments were very accepting. But then I started coming across some environments that actually weren't so accepting. They were more confronting. They were more challenging of who I was. I wasn't looking to be accepted for who I was because I wasn't satisfied. That was a void. I knew there was something greater, something more. So I wasn't looking to be accepted. I was looking for truth. And I was actually looking for environments, and people make up environments, but people who actually said, hey, no, you could be more. Hey, you could do more. I started working for Roy, your dad. And as I started working for Roy, he was not accepting of me at all. He called me undisciplined Baron. He was like, every day it was like, I'd go in and, I worked for him, and I'd be like, it was painful, but it was medicine. It was like it was just the truth that was setting me free, but it had nothing to do with, well, it was coming from love. So that was, there's something about that, right? It's not just putting someone down or being truthful. It's like, no, it's coming from a place of wisdom and truth born from love. And it was accepting of who I actually was and who I could be. It was unaccepting of anything else other than that.
What's
Yeah.
interesting? That's so much. There's so much insight there, and it's so amazing to me because our lives are so parallel in so many ways. And what I remember about my friends is that I really wasn't as much attracted to them as they were attracted to me because by the time I was 22 years old, I was already in a couple of big surf movies. I was an
Mm.
alpha surfer. I wasn't a guy that just wanted to be a surfer. I was all the way through a real surfer. And I studied guys that were really good in order to refine my craft, which was my craft was surfing.
You were
what
good.
I
You were
did and
good. You were good at
it's what
it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
cared about it. And
And you
so
grew up, you started young, right?
I started when I was about your age, about 11 years old,
Yeah.
down in
Yeah.
Redondo Beach, Playa
Yeah.
del Rey. I had a friend whose
And then
mom bought
every
a
day
house.
after that, right?
Man,
Yeah.
so
And
when
you grew
then we
up
moved
right on
to
the water. You grew up
I
right
did.
on the water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
I was at
my
your,
folks moved to Ventura County, and I was right down the street from the beach. And when they wanted
yeah.
to find me, they just went down to the beach.
Yeah.
Before everybody had cell phones. But I remember that, and this is for your person who asked the question about rebuilding friendship.
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily actually my friends. They were more like admirers, and some of them were sycophants and toadies. Hey, Dave, how's it going today?
Hmm.
They wanted to be recognized because they recognized me. They thought,
Yeah.
I was somebody, and for them to be recognized by me made them somebody. And so I wasn't a discriminator of these kind of people. I was always surrounded by them. But
Yeah.
one day I'm coming out of the water, and I'm probably 21, 22 years old, and I come up, and there's a group of guys that was watching me surf out at California Street, and one guy says to me, Dave, you were ripping, man. You're a demigod. And I looked at him, and it was like, wait a minute. I have not reached the level of being called a demigod. And I said to the guy, I said, listen, buddy, you don't know me. This was the first time I started to break with this group of people because I liked being admired, right? I liked being thought of as being
Yeah. Everyone
an
does. Yeah.
important guy on the scene.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a part of me that just had to tell him, look, you don't know me. You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what goes in my mind. You don't know the problems that I have. And I didn't want to be identified that way anymore. I didn't want
Yeah.
to be thought of as being somebody important or somebody better than anybody else. And I
Hmm.
started to really gravitate further and further and further away from that group of people. And it was just me.
Hmm.
It wasn't necessarily them, but I realized they don't know how to be my friends. And this goes back to my core issue for the person who wrote the question. How do
Hmm.
you know why they're your friend?
Hmm.
How do you know anybody's your
Like a
friend?
real friend. Yeah.
And the way that I describe that is they're not afraid to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
So, but if they can't tell you the truth, okay, don't judge them for it. Just realize maybe this is not your tribe.
Yeah, really good. It's I love that. There's real friends are not yes people.
Mm-mm.
And it's easy to find ourselves if you're not careful and if you got a big ego or you're insecure, or you're overly addicted to being appreciated or admired, you're going to default into having a lot of yes people around you. You also, I certainly went through that trap a long time ago. I didn't even realize that I didn't even like yes people, but
Mm.
yes people have a lot of different expressions, but also you don't want to find yourself in around no people. So it's either no people are just always going to pull you down, or you can't do that. You have some idea, some inspiration. No, you can't. It could even be your parents, a parent, siblings, people that they'll just be no people, right? They'll tear you down because they want to keep you at the level you're at, or your yes people keep you at the same glass ceiling. It can
Yes.
get expressed. You have yes people around you. You've got no people. And if you're not awake, you'll remove no people, the people who are no Debbie Downers or those kind of types, or the Danny Downers. And then you wake up to those people. But then in reaction to that, you surround yourself with yes people that just accept you as you are. But you start to notice, well, wait, I'm in a circular trap. I'm in a horizontal trap because pretty soon you can't really grow because those people, maybe they're yes people, but they also have some kind of an agenda, which is to conscious or typically unconscious, just to kind of keep things the same, right? The sameness, the sea of sameness. And so it takes something to wake up and really have people around you. They're going to similar places in their life, similar commitments, a commitment to God, a commitment to being true and moral, and having morals and ethics and integrity, and having coming from love and generosity and those kind of qualities, but that can also tell you the truth. And I think love is more at the foundation there. And it may be shared interest. It could be in different areas of your life, work life, could be, in social circles or like that, or family. But you want people who are going to be about the truth with you and from love, and that have the different qualities of character that you admire, that actually bring that out in you, in the same way that, around those people, I didn't choose to eat the dessert because of just the environment there. If you're going to be around people or real friends, then, the people that you don't want to do something wrong or lie or cheat or gossip or like that. But the last thing I'll say about this is that you also want to, I have a kind of philosophy, which is, when I meet new people, I can appreciate them, but I also don't necessarily just trust them. I don't trust them and I don't distrust them. I'm just present with people. And if you want to know people, you don't have to figure them out. You just be with people. Just be present and trust, your gut, trust your instinct and what you get there from someone. And maybe don't just be too quick to jump in and just be all out, trust them or even distrust them. But I think over time, trust gets created in a pretty organic kind of way.
Yeah. What I want to say about friendship
Yeah.
is it's like love. If you go back 50 years, the picture of love is a little house with a white picket fence, car in the garage, the woman wearing an apron, the man coming home from his job in a suit. Man, the ideas that we have about what love and friendship are today are like they're just in bizarro world. And so social media and the woke crowd want you to adopt their definition of all things, right? And so
Well, I would
friendship,
say, the woke crowd, yeah, definitely. But I would say any crowd, because
right?
any crowd takes on a group think. And
Yes.
I think any group think, right there, you lose yourself and you take on ideas, thinking, ways of acting that aren't true to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And the reason why I bring that up is because have you accepted a definition or an idea that has been formed or fashioned or manufactured in your mind by somebody else? And so what you're doing is so the question was, well, I've cleaned up relationships. See, why were those relationships not working in the first place? Why, if they were toxic relationships, why were they toxic? And the person that you need to ask that question to is in the mirror.
Yeah. Because
What did I
it's
do?
like water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did I do? Where did I go wrong in choosing those people? And that's a good question. The self-analysis is important because if you don't do that self-analysis, if you don't ask yourself that question, asking other people why it went wrong, they're never going to give you the answer that you actually need. The answer is you allowed those things to happen and you gravitated toward those people for whatever reason, and maybe they gravitated towards you for whatever reason. But you see, as I said, I think the real definition, the reason I've been friends with Barron for how many years have we been friends? 35, 40 years now?
If I
At,
was that old, it would be that old, but
I, yeah, that's right. I'm as old as dust. But we've been friends for that long,
yeah.
since you were in your 20s, and I'm 10 years older than you, so
Yeah.
I'm a little
You
further
know,
down that road. But
yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, it's good. What comes to mind as you're speaking is the, like the frog. You put a frog in boiling water, it jumps out, You
Yep.
put a frog, experiment of putting a frog in a pot of cold water, bringing it to a slow boil, and it will cook to death. I think a lot of it with people that we surround ourselves with when we're not awake, when we're not aware of the impact, is it's almost like we're this frog in our environment. And maybe it starts right at home, and then it starts in school, kindergarten or first grade, second grade, and it's survival. And so you're in this pot of like water that's come to a slow boil, and you're not aware of it, and it's cooking you to death. It's killing you, but you've never really stepped back and questioned it. And to David's point, like, how did it get allowed for in the first place? Now, as a kid, you have good reasons. I mean, I know for myself, like I wanted kids to like me. So I would, I would manage perceptions by,
Mm,
what do I say, or what do I don't say, or what do I do? What do I not do? What do I wear? What do I not wear? Whether that's for my parents, with other kids, but environments, I learned how to manufacture a self and an identity that
mm,
could go along to get along, not be
mhm,
too bright, kind of keep dumbing myself down to not stand out, because you stand out, you stick your neck out, they're gonna cut your head off. And so, there's like these survival kind of mechanisms that we learn super young. And then now you're like, okay, you're an adult, you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, and you're still operating like that 8-year-old or that 5-year-old or that, 13-year-old, 14-year-old, surviving, going along to get along, managing perceptions, getting people to see you in a certain light, and to make sure you look good, you never look bad, or and when I say look good, I don't mean physically, but that's a part of it. What you wear, how you present yourself, but the car you drive, But I'm also mostly what I'm seeing about looking good is just how you present yourself in any and every situation. And I think a lot of people these days, there's so much social pressure, and on social media, if you don't go along with the narrative and say what you're supposed to say, like on social media, I mean, they'll come for you. They're going to attack you. But it's good to know. It's actually good to know that they are going to come for you. If you start sticking your head out, wearing truth on your sleeve, and you start being true to you, and being an individual, and not just trying to fit into the crowd and groupthink, and you don't need friends, but maybe you attract, or you have people around you that are like-minded and like-hearted, and so, but you don't need it all. You are going to be attacked. That's a part of it. People are not going to like you when you do you. That's my point.
wow.
Yeah.
That's deep. Well,
uh,
and I'll just add one more component, and that is that when I was in, let's say, fifth or sixth grade, I don't know if you've ever seen Alfred E. Newman on Mad Magazine, but that's what I
oh, that
looked
was
like.
that the guy on the cover of Matt. I remember
That
I
was the
was a
guy.
little kid, and I
Just
remember,
the
yeah, that
goofiest.
character, he was like the
Yes,
face of Matt,
that's what I looked like when I was a
magazine,
kid.
Matt products. I could see
So I had
that.
nobody looked at me and says, "Hey, there's a cool guy." They all looked at me like I'm 50 pounds when I'm in sixth grade. I'm just a little skinny, scrawny kid, and all the bullies were gravitating toward me to beat me up.
Yeah.
So in that circumstance, there was one guy, a black guy, who was a big, strong black guy, and one day he was kind of intimidating me. I said, "Don't hurt me," and I showed him my cut off finger. I have a missing a part of a finger on my left hand. And he goes, "Well, what happened to you?" And I said, I told him what happened. And he says, "Does it hurt?" And I go, "Well, sometimes." But he kind of took compassion on me. So I turned this potential bully into an ally through sympathy. Now, that's not a good way to go through life, because you can find ways to get people to feel your pain and feel sorry for you and somehow identify with the suffering that you're going through. But so there's times where you have to do that, because it was a survival thing for me when I was a kid in school. Nobody cared what happened to me. My mom and dad, had 5 kids. They sent me off to school like a lot of parents do. And I was always being bullied, and I was always ending up in the principal's office. Well, why were you fighting with them? I wasn't fighting with them. But the point is, you've got to look at why you're attracted to others and why they're attracted to you. Don't try to build things that haven't worked. The fact that it's like if a tire blows out, what are you going to do? Patch it endlessly? No, you're going to get a new tire, for God's sake. That's what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. That's good. Yeah, it reminds me. I just had a memory. I was bullied a lot. So I remember starting in third grade, I was getting bused across the city. You know, I lived in the
Oh,
city in San
yeah.
Francisco and went
Hmm.
to public schools. And the school that was like just 2 blocks from my house was being renovated.
Mm.
So I was bused, and that bus ride was torture. Like every morning, I would get on that bus and the kids would just, sing chants about me. They called me Hare Krishna because my parents were into yoga and health food and all that. So
Mm.
they were like, my parents were like early hippies in a way. So, but I was really teased for it. And then they put gum in my hair. It was like a 40-minute bus ride of just pure
Oh,
hell, pure torture. I remember getting off on a lot of days just trying to hide my tears because I was
yeah.
like embarrassed that I was being bullied. And I wouldn't
Hmm.
tell my parents. I wouldn't really tell anybody. But what did happen, I kind of found my kids. And a lot of the kids I kind of hung out with were actually the mental retarded kids. I don't know what they call them now, but at the time, I mean, they called them just the mental retarded kids. And then there were special classes. And,
Mm.
and I ended up hanging out with a lot of those kids and that had kind of problems, but we were different. I just kind of somehow I liked them and they liked me and and a lot of the norm, but I kept getting bullied. And then there was also a lot of kids, black kids, being bussed in from the projects that were tough kids. Man, they were just tough. They would just steal your lunch and they'd kind of bully you. But they were just tough. They were just wired tough. Like they
Hmm.
came from a tough environment. They're total urban city. From the projects, um, but it was interesting. Those kids also kind of, and they had an affinity toward me, these black kids. So it was interesting because they would stand up for me. Like those kids on the bus, or if they would mess with me during like recess or lunch breaks, just normal, whatever, they were white kids that, from my neighborhood and stuff in Upper Richmond, Pacific Heights, in San Francisco, the black kids were like my allies.
Hmm.
And then there was this one girl, Rwanda was, I think it was like Rhonda or Rwanda, and she was a big girl. Like literally, we were in maybe fourth, fifth grade, maybe, but she was built like she was a 14, 15-year
Mm.
old. She was just big for her age. Like she could have
Hmm.
been at a middle school or junior high school and fit right in, just size wise. But when she started catching, she had a crush on me. And I remember when she started seeing some of these boys bullying on me,
Mm.
oh man, she would just go and smack them up. And
You got to make a movie out of
I know,
this,
I was
man.
like, dang, I mean, I'm kind of remembering all this right now as we're talking, but
Wow.
it's interesting how what I do know is I had an innocent spirit. Like I really just wanted to like everybody and love everybody, and I didn't understand why kids are being so mean. I wasn't wired mean like that, but I also saw that like somehow I found my people that weren't necessarily belonging to the whole group of the normal kids, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Totally. Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look, I was always an odd person out, but because of my personality, as I started to become more aware of why I was doing the things I was doing and why I wasn't, I started to step aside from everybody. And then people tried to figure me out. And then, they wanted to draw me into their world because I had skills and talents and interests that they didn't have. And they found me interesting. It was almost like being in a zoo. They would come and look at me and watch me as I would do the things I did. And so for me, I kind of got used to the idea that I wasn't like the rest of the people. And
Mm-hmm.
this is going back to the idea that whoever wrote you this question, once you determined that you were either compatible or incompatible with somebody, there wasn't any point anymore. It would be like I would tell people, and this was a true story. I had a friend that I grew up with, and we went to junior high and high school together, and I was changing all the time, and he was trying to be more like me. So one day he calls me and says, "Dave, let's go get some beers." And I go, "No, no, Richard, I can't do it, man. It doesn't work for me. It's not my lifestyle." I said, "Why don't you come in my direction? Let's do something else. But he couldn't bring himself to because he wanted to be like I was in those days.
Mm-hmm.
He thought that was the ideal of what to be. So I literally said, we can't hang out anymore together.
Yeah.
We just can't.
Yeah.
And I truly love the guy,
Yeah.
but we weren't compatible anymore. I didn't want him being me.
Yeah.
I wanted to be me. I wanted him to be him.
Yeah.
So one day he calls me up about a year later. He goes, "Dave, I got a new car, and look at my shirt. I got this awesome Hawaiian shirt." He drives up to my house, right? I go, "That's really nice, man. That's cool.
Yeah.
Have a good one."
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Last thought, and then we'll wrap up is here's what I would say about, friends and building friends and relationships that are meaningful and real and of substance is to be you, man. To tell the truth, like be genuine, be authentic about the ways you're inauthentic or what you're working on, what you're growing on in your life. Be true about what you believe in. Speak the truth, like hold nothing back. If you're censoring or self-censoring at any level, you're playing a dangerous game because you may win people. You'll win friends that are actually fiends. You want people who actually around you that actually are up to what you're up to. You may see certain things differently. So it's not about getting someone who like sees everything like the same way you do, but you want people who around you can be true and be yourself around them. And if they reject truth, to me, that's always, if they get upset about something you're saying that's true in your eyes, that's true, then yeah, they're not cut out to be your friends. But if you speak truth and they either recognize that truth for themselves or they're curious about it, but they're not triggered by it or something. I don't know if I'm making sense completely, but I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. Like you cannot self-censor. If you self-censor, you're managing what people think about you. And right there, that managing of perceptions is a dangerous game because you'll get people to like you, but they may be the wrong people. And they certainly won't respect you.
Yeah. One last thought from me.
Yeah.
You don't have to be friends with them, but you can still be their friend.
Oh, yeah.
In other words,
so
they
good.
don't have to be your friend anymore.
Yeah.
But if you
I
see
love
them,
that. Yeah.
then you stop and say, "How you doing?
Yeah.
Did you deal with that situation, or how's your kids, or whatever?"
Yeah.
I have
I
many,
love that.
many people that I'm actually not friends with, but I am their friend.
I love that. Yeah.
Because I care about them.
I'm a friend to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But I actually am not interested in a friendship.
But see, that frees people. That frees whoever it is that you are. That frees you to go on being yourself. And then you find a new meaning in the word friend because, the scripture says, "Do unto others as you would have them do unto you." Right?
Right.
So if you want, and we've talked about this before a little bit, but if you really want to have healthy relationships, be unto others the way you would want them to be unto you.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very good. All right, my friend. All right, everybody. Please share the show. We appreciate you. And subscribe. Leave us 5-star review. Send any questions to disruptingthedrift@baronbaptiste.com. Stay blessed. Peace out.